Go around the badger.
Hey everyone, it is the Angry Honey Badger here, and today it is in fact time for a Quinn build. And I know a few of you are probably saying, Badger, why did it take so long? You play plenty of Quinn. That may be true, but I've been tweaking with her build a lot, and recently I started playing her more after I say she's finally where I think Riot wants her to be. Okay, so first off, I'm going to kill Lucian. He got really aggressive, which is what Lucian actually does in top lane. He actually tried to counter the Quinn top, which he almost had it, but he took a little bit too much minion aggro, and I kited back because I knew he was going to go aggressive, and I flashed out once I knew my Ignite was probably going to do enough damage. So I got a little bit lucky there, but I knew it was coming. So anytime you see ADC top lane, they usually get aggressive at level 2 or 3. If there's any type, luckily ADC v ADC lane, I know it's a little bit weird, but he tried to counterpick it. And he does honestly fine in the lane until later, but he will run into a problem that is Quinn. And we're going to talk about the problem that is Quinn. There are many good things to her problems and many bad things to her problems, and we're going to talk about that in depth because I think that is more important than almost the items and everything else about Quinn. But before we get to the problems, both good and bad for Quinn, we got to talk about runes and masteries. I'll throw those on the screen right now, so go ahead and take a look at those. Pause the video if you need to look at them longer or jot them down. I'm going to be honest, I've currently just been using my 80 mid lane stuff primarily for her. It works really, really well. I do the Thunderlords and all that. But let's move things on to her abilities real quick. We'll talk about them a little quicker than normal just because I don't think they're too crazy. So we have a passive, it's Harrier. Valor's going to mark targets with vulnerability every for 4 seconds. This allows you to do that like double attack, although it just scales from damage, so based on your attack and level. So it's really, really strong when you are putting your abilities and your passive together and you kind of, swing them back and forth, because what happens is you do a lot of really bursty damage because you're essentially getting double attacks like how Lucian does, but slightly different. So it's really important to land those back to back. You're going to chunk people out like I just did to Lucian. Very, very good. But first, there is your Q ability. It is, of course, your Blinding Assault. You're going to put a point into this at level 1, max it out first. Quinn will throw Valor, or Valor's mark, forward. If it hits them, it will blind them in an area around them. It's not really a blind. It's called near sight. For 1.5 seconds in a 300 radius circle around them. And that is going to cause them to not see anything unless it's inside of that, which is really good because your range is obviously outside of that, and you can cause quite a problem. If you do miss this, that's unfortunate. It does give up some of your strength in a fight. It is a very important ability to land. Besides the part where it does give them that basically blinding them, it does a good amount of damage because it scales really well with your attack damage, and that's why we max out first. Also, it will give them the mark, and you can then hit them up with that double attack, which is really, really good on your Harrier. At rank 2, we put a point into Vault. I like to max this out second just to get the cooldown on it down further and lower because I think this is very, very good for dueling and getting in fights that are a little bit long or extended. It's up a lot faster than other people's abilities, so I like to get that ranked up a little bit quicker. Some people like to rank up Quinn's W faster. I don't because, like I said, I want Vault on a shorter cooldown. You're going to Vault off their face. It's going to slow them by 50% for 2 seconds. That doesn't go up anymore, but it is just good to have it on a lower cooldown. That's really all I want from that early. Also, if you do Vault them, you will get the Harrier mark, and you can hit them up with that double shot, which is also very good. Then there is, of course, level 3, your Heightened Senses. You can activate it and see an area around you. Really good for checking brush so you don't face plant into enemies. That can be a problem. Or if you don't have any wards at the time, or if they're going to cheese and they clear your ward and then they stand in that bush, you can just check it with Heightened Senses real quick. Passively, this is why people usually will max it out second, or some people do. When you attack a vulnerable target from your passive, you get bonus attack speed and movement speed. It goes from 20% to 40%. The reason I don't worry about this is because of the second item that I buy, which I just finished off, which is a Phantom Dancer. And then, of course, we have Behind Enemy Lines, which is where you are going to ride Valor around the map super fast, and you get tons of movement speed, and this is why it's really good to use her as a very mobile split pusher and assassin. We'll talk about that more in a second with the pros and cons of Quinn. And then, obviously, when you come out of it, you are going to deal a little bit of damage, which is good. So that, for the most part, is that. So let's talk about now her items just a little bit. So the first 2 items I'm going to build are, well, Boots don't count as an item. We'll talk about that too. But the first 2 main items I'm going to build are a Phantom Dancer and an Essence Reaver. Now, I build half of the Essence Reaver first because I want a little bit of damage. It's really good to get some damage underneath your belt before you start going for attack speed. But then after that, I do just straight up rush the Phantom Dancer. Now, whether or not you want to just get the couple longswords early and build that to your first half of your Essence Reaver, or if you want to get the BF sword if you have enough for your first trip back, I'd go with that. Then go for the Phantom Dancer. Phantom Dancer I like second because I don't have to pick up any boots because I'm going to be getting some movement speed and I'm going to be having my behind enemy lines probably at that point by the time I get to that at level 6, so I can have some mobility that way. Also, 30% crit chance, attack speed, and the passives make you a really, really strong duelist. So it's a very powerful item, and it's very, very cheap comparatively to other items in the game. So Phantom Dancer, I really, really like it early. After that, then I actually do go with my Boots of Swiftness, and at that point, we can start to roam and become a split push threat and an assassin threat all over the map, because that is what Quinn does. See you later, Lucian. I know you got a turret, but ain't gonna matter because I'm gonna do better. So yes, that's what I do next. Then after I finish off those items, I go back to the other half of my Essence Reaver and finish that off. And then at that point, with Boots and those 2 main attack items, I'm going to have 50% crit chance, pretty good damage, good attack speed, and a good way to stay out on the map, be getting our mana back with the Essence Reaver. And we're going to be able to split push a lot, like over and over. After this point, you have options with the build. You can start going Infinity Edge, but because I am going to want to stay out here, split push, and become that chaotic threat, I think a little bit of lifesteal can be a very important item and stat to really have. So next, we're going to be going for Death's Dance. If you didn't like Death's Dance, Bloodthirster would suffice well too. But at this point in the game, with these couple of items and our boots, Quinn is pretty much a split-pushing assassin threat. She takes turrets very quick. She can get around the map very quick to help assist and assassinate enemies. And that is what Quinn should be doing on the map. Now, the problem with Quinn is you have to pretty much play her in a mid lane, not so much a jungle, but you can do it in the jungle, and a top lane, as a top lane, just solo laner. She can play bot lane, and I think she's actually quite good in the bot lane, but the problem is you are fairly ingrained to just be an ADC or a team fighting ADC at that point. Quinn does not do the team fight thing very well. One of the reasons is because of her vault. Essentially, in a team fight, Quinn mostly only has her Q as an only ability to do anything besides auto. And her auto range isn't super short, but it isn't super long either. The problem with Vault in a team fight is some champions will punish you hard for using Vault. It's going to literally cause an ADC to jump onto someone's face. In the middle of a team fight, that's usually a really greedy thing to do. So you don't want to do that, and because you don't want to do that, what you do is you play her as a split pusher. Now, a lot of people will see a split pushing Quinn and wonder what they're doing sometimes if it's not going perfectly well, and they'll say, hey, get down here, we need you in a team fight. Unfortunately, Quinn should really never come to team fight. Just really shouldn't happen. She can come clean up team fights, she can come try to help hang out, but really she doesn't do well in a team fight because Vault doesn't work. For example, I was up against the Cassiopeia the other day, and Cassiopeia, the minute you vault towards her, all she has to do is use her ultimate, and you're just stuck, and you instantly die. That's one of the few reasons why you can't use Quinn as a team fighting ADC. Her ultimate doesn't really help in any way in a team fight. Vault, like I said, gets you punished. Your W really only gives you vision, which isn't a good or bad thing in a team fight. It's fine, it's good, but it doesn't do you much. And you effectively just have your Q. So you don't get to do much in a team fight, which is why you have to use her as a split push threat and an assassin threat. So that is what Quinn should be doing. I've already taken top inhibitor this game and taken all those turrets. After that, I said in chat, I'm going to switch to bot lane and I'm going to work on that side of the map. And while this is happening, what the 4 people on your team should be doing is they should be in a 4v4 most of the time if they're sending somebody to deal with Quinn, and Quinn should be able to assassinate them. But if they send more than one person, which they've been doing, my team should just go do Baron and force it, because worst case scenario, if they send Sivir down here, and I believe Trundle was down here earlier too, my team should go do Baron, and worst case scenario, I'll just go hop into behind enemy lines and then just fly up there faster than anybody else can get over there. So we can easily just create the pressure on the map to do that. I did finally die there, got walled in, and I didn't have flash. But luckily, if you know you're going down, always take somebody with you. That's the smart thing to do. It works really, really well. I mean, that's just the big thing with Quinn. So just to reiterate it one more time, Quinn is a split-pushing assassin, and she really doesn't do a good job team fight, which is unfortunate because you could say, then why don't I play a better split-push assassin like old-school Jax? Like, he could do that, and he could team fight fairly well too, obviously, because he had Counter-Strike. He could stun a whole team and dodge some damage. Quinn doesn't have that. But what Quinn has over all of those other champions is the most absurd and amazing mobility in the game, causing you to be able to split not just one lane quick, but pretty much 2 lanes quick. Some of you may have saw a stream a few months ago where we had someone disconnect on our team, and it was a 4v5. And I was able to create such a split push threat in both top and bottom as Quinn that we caused the 5 to surrender to the 4 of us. You can be all over the place and create many, many problems with Quinn. And that's why she's very strong. But the problem is, if you're not playing with a group of friends and you're not, you're not able to coordinate that with the other people on your team, like if the 4 keep getting, like, let's say nobody comes to deal with you in the split push, like currently right now, although they're going to send 2 right now, and I'm going to choose 1 to take down with me as I go down. The problem is, if your teammates just keep dying and the enemy team can just say, guys, let's ignore Quinn, we win these 4v5s, so their team just face checks into him and dies, then you will have a problem and you will be harassed for being the odd man out for split pushing, and it's going to be your fault. So that's the problem with why Quinn doesn't get played all the time and why people have a hard time kind of like choosing when and how to play these split pushers. You got to be really careful with that. In fact, if you reference back to the LCS in the spring split, you may have noticed that Quinn got played a handful of times and a few games had great success because those games accelerated very quick, and then more mobility and movement and roaming around the map was really good, and that benefits Quinn. She also scales really hard when she starts to snowball, and she can get really far ahead, like most champions, but like most split push champions. But the other problem is, when those games got drawn out and those enemy teams really forced the team fights over and over and over and over, those Quins fell really, really far behind, and they tended to struggle very difficult because they can't team fight and they can't split push. The other problem, too, they ran into was they would split push into a lane and get counterpicked by someone who was tanky and would only stack armor. Now, there are ways around that by building armor penetration, which our next item after our Death's Dance we finished and our Infinity Edge would be a Lord Dominick. That would help. But if you needed even more than a black Cleaver over maybe an Infinity Edge would be a better choice to just shred through armor. But that's pretty much a Quinn build. I play a ton of her. Currently Mastery level 6, probably 7, honestly, by the end of the day. I do play Quinn a little bit. It's really fun. It's really strong. If you like the split push game, Quinn's the best at it. I'll just say it. I hope this helps you out. Check out the description for all of the build, and I'll see all of you next time.